What's good, everybody? In today's video, I'm going to be giving music producers 5 tips that I wish I had known or I picked up over time. I've got them written down in front of me, so I'm going to go through them one at a time. I'm not going to, waste any time. We're just going to jump right into it. So the first point that I think music producers should know is that in the beginning, it's going to be tough, right? And you're going to struggle to get better. People are going to tell you that your mixes don't sound good. They're going to tell you that your beats aren't sounding good at that point, right? Now, it's not for you at that point to now try and, finesse into why your music is good. You just need to get better, right? This is a focus period where you need to just try everything you can to get better. And the easiest way for you to do this is by taking on all the projects you can. Whether they be paying or non-paying, depending on what you can handle, try and take on as many projects as you can. Good projects, bad projects, big artists if you can get them at that stage, small artists. Get as many people as you can through your doors so that you can get, what you're doing is you're not really trying to build your business. At this point, you're trying to build the craft around the business so that you're really, really good, because the far majority of your clients are going to be artists who are not great, right? This is just what tends to happen. You might find that of the people you work with, until you get to superstar status, majority of the people, I can easily say maybe 60%, I'm even being kind there, maybe 80% of the people won't be people that you necessarily vibe with, right? And some people will be like, yeah, well, if I don't feel it, I don't want to work on it. Unfortunately, you're not going to find business that way. It's a business. You might not have the best people coming to you, but you'll want to have people coming to you, right? So work on as many projects as you can. Get your head out your ass and just focus on getting better. Working on bad projects is going to help you get better. If you can restore bad projects, imagine what you can do with good projects. I spent the longest time trying to restore bad recordings, things where things were clipping, things that were recorded in bad spaces, and it forced me to learn all these other little tricks and tips of my own that I now use on vocals that are recorded decently. So you can imagine what that skill set taught me about mixing and mastering, and how it would basically help me mix and master better. Anyway, enough about that point. Second point is this is basically building on the first point, but it's basically you want to fail as quickly as you can. You want to get things as wrong as you can in the beginning, as quickly as you can. And like in the first point I mentioned, you want to do as many different projects, but for the second point, I would go as far as to say is take on as many different projects outside of your comfort zone. So you're a hip-hop producer, go and get some EDM. Go and try and make some EDM. Go and try and figure that out. When I made EDM, I realized how bad my mixing was, how bad my drums were. My drums were not pushing through, right? My melodies were okay. That's when I sort of figured, my melodies aren't too bad. But only through me going round and trying to figure things out in other genres was I then able to figure it out within hip-hop. My mixes, my melodies, everything, my drums, everything translated from EDM, and I brought it back over. The same thing happened when I started working on Afrobeats. Afrobeats showed me about rhythm, right? And through diving deeper into trying to figure rhythm out, I then learned other things, like how you don't have to, when you're putting down your percussion, you don't have to put your percussion down to the grid, right? It sounds robotic when you do that. You can shift things around and make things louder, softer, pan them, basically trying to get that groove and get that rhythm. What did I do? I took all of that information, brought it back to hip-hop as well. Hip-hop is really one of those genres where anything goes, and I've really been able to build my hip-hop sound based on all the other genres that I've worked on. So fail fast, do as much as you can. YouTube is your friend, but be careful, right? Be careful with YouTube. It's just like when you use Google to try and figure out medical conditions. You have a rash on your leg and you're like, what? And then you go on Google and you have a look through all the rashes there. All of a sudden you've got cancer, right? YouTube is the same. You go on there and sometimes you start watching these videos and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much stuff to know. Or you learn the wrong stuff, and you don't want to do that either, right? It's not going to help you. So you have to just take it with a pinch of salt, but use it as much as you can. Be very, very selective. And the easiest way to do that is you'll watch maybe 6 or 7 videos on a specific topic. Pick out the commonalities between the different videos. If they're all saying that you should EQ your reverb, maybe you should EQ your reverb, right? Still take it with a pinch of salt and do more research, but at least you know that from multiple credible resources or sources, that you should EQ your reverb. I'm even saying to you should EQ your reverb. And then it sits as something like, hey, actually, I heard that before in that other video. Then you can start implementing it more and more and more. And then from there, you can even figure out for yourself whether or not doing that thing will work, right? Third thing, equipment. This is it's a tricky one. People tell me often, they're like, man, I wish I had a studio like yours, right? I'd be able to do so much. I'm not sure about that because there's people who have equipment like mine and better, like way better. This is still, for some people, this is still very, very basic entry level equipment. Obviously for some, this is great stuff, but learning about the stuff was more important. Learning why I need to have a space like this, learning why I need real instruments for certain things, learning why I'm just looking at some of the things in the background here behind me, like why I need this microphone here. It only came at the MIDI controller. I don't know if you can see it, just literally just down here. All of these things I didn't have in the beginning. In the beginning, all I had was I have a picture of it actually. I had this really terrible computer, terrible speakers, and that's all I was working with. And yeah, that's all I had for the first, I can say, how many years? Maybe the first 4 or so years of me just making beats, I just had a computer. I was just clicking everything in. Click, 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 click. At that point, I was just trying to learn the programs, and that was it. So only over time, and like this only came about when? 2021. And I started making beats in 2017. I mean, come on. 2017, 2007. So that's many years. We're talking what? My maths is terrible. 14 years. Yeah, it takes a while, right? You don't just arrive, you get the money, you get the equipment, you start working, and all of a sudden things are great. It's going to take a bit of building. There's a bit of a process to it. Right, so the next one, this is a bit of a hack, more so than it is a tip. But if you have a little bit of equipment, try to trade your way up. So what I did is, even with these HS5s, you see these white HS5s you see behind me, I traded up with a colleague of mine. We got a little bit of money together and we decided, let's buy this piece of equipment. We bought that piece of equipment and then we were able to sell it for a small little profit. We did that a couple of times. All of a sudden, we had a little bit more money than we had in the beginning. And what we then did is we went in and we started buying. We went on a buying spree. We picked up a lot of equipment and then we realized that, actually, some of the equipment that we've bought, we want to keep ourselves, right? And you might say we're getting high on our own supply. We did, right? We took equipment, but if we took something like, I took these HS5s, but I then gave that little business that we were running my old HS5s, and we sold my old HS5s. I then used these ones here. Similar thing happened with my MIDI controller. There are a couple of things that he did in the same way, and that helped. Like, it helped to level us up. I'm still using the same HS5s, but I promise you, I get more comments on these than I would have on my old black HS5s. Exact same speakers, but yeah, there are other things. Not this mic, but my Audio Technica that I use for voiceovers. That was also a trade. I basically just traded my way up. So yeah, you can use that as a hack. It does take a little bit of money and a little bit of spending time on Facebook Marketplace, and you must go meet with these people. Then you have to, spend time having these random conversations with people who are just trying to undercut you. It can become a bit messy, but if you get a hang of it, it actually can become a bit thrilling as well. So yeah, try to trade your way up. Last thing, the last tip I'm going to give is one of the realest pieces of advice. Well, it's one of the realest pieces of advice that I can give to a music producer who's trying to build their way up. And that is, people are going to give you a hard time. You have to have a thick skin. They're going to give you a hard time. They're going to tell you that your beats are crap. They're going to treat you like crap. You're going to get into studio sessions where people are going to treat you like absolute garbage, right? You are, especially in the beginning, I just remember just being treated like, I don't know, like it was bad. It was almost inhumane, the way sometimes conversations would happen around me. And I'm like, do these people understand that I am also another human, and I'm absorbing the information that they're saying, and they're talking bad about whoever it is or whatever. And then I realized, I'm like, being a sound engineer in the studio here, working here, it's almost like being a bartender. You hear a lot. You hear a lot about a lot, and you're like, wow, okay, cool, right? And I used that to my advantage. I didn't divulge any of that information, but I just kept it in the back of my head about relationships, about how fickle the industry can be sometimes, about how someone can, they'll all be talking about someone in the studio, and then that person will walk through the door. All of a sudden, it's good times. I'm like, whoa, it's intense. But obviously I have to play my part and just be like, oh, well, it is what it is. So I learned to figure that out quickly. I learned to navigate that situation. But there were times where I felt like absolute garbage. It was only when I started picking up and people actually wanted to be in the studio, and people were like, they really wanted to be in this space, did things improve? Did people start listening to me? Did artists start listening to my advice? Before, they would be like, whatever, what does he know? He's just a third-rate sound engineer. He's just a button clicker. I was told once that as a music producer, as a sound engineer, or as a person recording, I should shut up, just hit record, and just be that person. And some people want that. Yeah. Right now, I know when people come here, they're not looking for that. They're not looking for button pushing. They want me to speak. They want my opinion. I speak more now in sessions. Well, people try and pull my my viewpoint out of me a lot more than what they used to, and I know why. I think I know why. But you don't just get to that point, and even beyond this point, then I'm sure there's another level. There's always levels to everything. I'm sure there's another level where people come in here and the attitude is different again, but you feel it. I know it exists. So just to wrap up that point, thick skin, do your thing. Sometimes you're actually just gonna have to put your head down and work, figure it out, fail. I'm literally just going back into all the other points now, but you get what I'm saying. So yeah, that is the video. If you have any comments, please let me know. You can just drop them in the comment section, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.